Welcome to the Scene Weekly podcast, where we harken back to our college debate days and pick two movies of the same theme to wear protective gear at night, push the fridge against the door, and pray to all the gods you'll wake up tomorrow morning. This week's episode is focused on best motel movies with a top-tier billing as Memento goes a little crazy with Psycho. Come join Jonathan and Steven for another week of hopefully less plot chatter and copious more film banter, and I think we have audio issues out of the way. Welcome to our world.
Motel movies, man. How did we end up on this topic?
I think we were going for hotels, and then we were discussing motels, and somehow, I mean, eventually we're going to do every topic known to mankind, but motels, pretty good pick. There's a lot of motel movies like to pick from, by the way, and they're all not like they're all heavy hitters. It seems like if you just shoot a movie in a motel, it's like instantaneous 5 glasses, I guess. We should just write a script for a motel movie.
I mean, that's the formula right there. I think
there's a guy behind, like, you know, every studio motel. No, that's not going to cut it. And motel, yes, you got a motel in there. Okay, we're going to greenlight it. Good to go.
Yeah, and you said it. We have two top tier heavy hitters here. I mean.
Yeah, so I think for myself and you, we both went to Memento. We're entertaining many ideas, but you went to Memento. It was the movie that got you into movies. And so I
talk about that.
Decided that I wanted to go a different path. So I wanted to take Psycho, the last black and white from old Sir Alfred Hitchcock. But yeah, I mean, distinctly different movies. Made in distinctly different ways, from distinctly different directing and
time periods.
Just completely different movies, but both fantastic.
And both set in a motel, for the most part.
Have you stayed in a motel before?
I have, yeah. Not always the most luxurious accommodations known to man, but I prefer hotels. I prefer hostels, actually, even more so. Motels just seem dingy and dirty, and I just can't do it.
Do you like? Yeah, you might have a good point. There's a few motels that are right down the street from me. Like,
would you ever stay there?
One just got busted for prostitution. I think it just kind of it's hand in hand with, you know, a motel that's immediately going to be, you know, ripe for the picking. No, I wouldn't stay there. No, What's a motel? Yeah. What's the limitation on height?
I think 2,
3,
maybe 3. 3's pushing it. There's no elevator. You can't have an elevator at a motel. It's just steps. Typically, it's
what if they're accommodating? ADA is mandating a.
There might be some of those, but I'm thinking classic, just dingy roadside motel, and that's like the ones that you just, you know, you need to. You're driving down the highway, and it's the only place that you can stop at, or you're hiding out from the cops, or you're trying to take a prostitute back to your place. One of those options is.
Sounds like I'm doing a lot of nefarious activity. If you're talking about I stayed at a place called the Elk Motel once. I have a picture.
It's in North Carolina, right?
Yeah. Didn't we stay there together with?
No, that was a year before. That was a year before I joined the team. But I remember hearing stories about the Elk Motel.
Just armpit scratching, I guess. Interesting place. I don't recommend it. I'd be shocked to see that it exists still. I remember our coach, with old Brian Harper. I think Milt was with us as well, maybe even Mikey. It's like 4 of us, frightened to stay in that place, primarily because I guess just months before somebody had actually been killed there. And we're like, why are we staying here? It's like, it's the cheapest place we could find. And we're like,
yeah, the rates are low.
Didn't sleep well that night before the race. I think I ran maybe the 3K, did not run well, and wanted to get out of there. But we did eventually push the fridge against the door, and I was like, I don't know. Because, like, you know, in motels, people were on the first floor. I only think there was actually one floor. Not a good place to be. First floor motel, no good. But anyway, yeah, that's how we got here. Wanted to talk about motels and people getting murdered, I guess.
Yeah. I mean,
Both
it's
movies
like I
got it.
said, both movies got it, and that's what happens in motels. It's a seedy place, and strange things happen. Anything kind of goes.
I'll tell you what, collectively in both movies, what intros they had. I don't want to like pit them against each other because they're both equally good, but the Polaroid flip flap of Memento
In
going
reverse,
backwards
yeah.
is what an opening. And then just a shot from, Alfred Hitchcock just going in through the window. I don't know how he did that in 1960 or 1959. Just two really excellent shot selections at the beginning, especially Memento, I would say. I remember watching it for the first time and being like, "Oh, this movie's different. Like this does different things I've never seen before. Like it's backwards, and then it's also backwards. Like, oh wait, what's going on?" Yeah, it blew my mind at the time. Um, this is one of those movies. I guess collectively both of them, but especially Memento, that I wish I kind of had never seen before, or I wish I had never seen, and I wish I could recreate that feeling of watching a movie all over again.
For the first time, yeah.
For the first time. Yeah, but yeah,
It's
what a week. Hard hitters.
hard hitters. You got this is one of the movies where, again, we get the poster behind you that's repping your background.
Yeah,
Love that. Um,
I don't have
yeah, and
Psycho.
Memento, man. Memento was kind of like you said. It was the film, the gateway film that got me into movies. Like, of course, as a
It's the
kid,
marijuana of films for you.
yeah, it is. And I just remember watching it for the first time and was just astounded that movies can tell a story like this, and it just blew my mind. Um, and it just made me want to go down the rabbit hole of all other films, and like, I kind of had this like this little secret of like, oh, Memento's a great film. I'm going to tell people about it. Ooh, Christopher Nolan is this like little indie darling director that nobody knows about. And then when I heard he's like going to direct the Batman Begins, I'm like, oh, do you know who this is directing Batman Begins? Like, it was a special moment. Now he's just ubiquitous with
Yeah,
great filmmaking.
big films. Isn't he doing the Odyssey?
Yeah, he's doing the Odyssey. He's got an all star cast there. Um, I'd like to see him go smaller. Do like
Me too.
another one of
Yeah,
these like
yeah.
30-day shoots. Get it in, get it out. $5 million budget, and just
Mm-mm.
get creative with it.
250,000 budget, 2 weeks, 10 days possibly. Rip it, plan it out. But yeah, look, his movies are still great. I can't complain. First of all, I mean the trifecta that is Batman is unreal. But by the end of it, I was like, okay, I kind of want this to end, kind of thing. Um, these movies are great, but like, I like this way more. Give him more time to think. I mean, him. I think I sent it to you that you had never seen before in terms of the structure in like
Yeah,
a very long horseshoe shape of like where things are kind of intersecting in between the black and white and the color images, and like how they're like overlaying each other and where they go past particular points of kind of no return, in memory of no return as well. And I had to watch it like 3 times. I was like, wait, what? Even with this diagram, I was like, I don't think I
and
can
you've seen the
explain this.
movie multiple
Yeah, I was
times.
like, I don't think I could explain this to anyone right now. It's like I don't clearly understand it. But unreal. I just got done running a very hard workout, so I'm perspiring probably a
You're
little still.
sweating a lot. Yeah.
Not sweating a lot. I'm not sweating a lot. At least I'm not like itching armpits galore. I don't know what's happening over here. But yeah, motels. I haven't stayed in a motel since that Elk motel days, possibly, maybe. Yeah, it's been a while. It's been a long time, but I would prefer to stay away from them. Hostels, yeah, I might actually agree with you. Yeah, I don't want to
Hostels,
stay in hostels either.
no, we're beyond that age, I think. But yeah, I think 3-star hotels and up are the way for me now. Like, just kind of spoiled that way, you know.
I mean, if you have the money, it's just it's a 4.5 and upwards. Not even. I mean, I guess if you're forced, you know, you got to. But anyway, why don't we get into it? I don't have all the time in the world here. Neither do you. So who's gonna go first? What are we gonna do? Tell me
Uh,
what's up.
let's do Psycho first. I'm down for that.
As you age, speaking of Norman's mother and her lovely skin, does your I just get cut all the time now? Just moving fingers around, moving my hands. And I remember my mom, I was thinking back to when I was a kid, and she'd always tell me, my skin isn't what it used to be. And I feel like I'm telling myself that a lot these days. And are you also getting old, or is it just me?
I think it's just you, man. Like, I was telling somebody the other day, like, I don't own hand lotion. I don't.
That was me.
Yeah, was I telling you? Yeah, I don't own hand lotion. I don't. But my hands are always nice and soft. You know, I don't
Mine aren't.
have
I have dry skin.
any
I
cuts.
got
I mean, I
face. Psycho,
yeah, I don't have
190
those.
minutes. Sir Alfred Hitchcock is the director, 1960, rated R, and it's a mystery of sorts, if you will. It's a combination of, I would say, like 3 different sets of movies. 97% on Rotten Tomatoes, 806 with a budget, 32 million box office. I may not even be accurate, to be honest with you, but it sounds accurate. With seemingly a lot of people not getting paid, I think this movie wasn't actually going to seemingly in or Sir Alfred Hitchcock's mindset afterwards was like, this movie's awful. It's terrible. There's no way that anyone is ever going to watch this. Like, it's basically literally said this is never going to get it. Like, nobody's ever going to see this. And if somebody does see this, nobody's ever going to like this ever. And then the score gets added, and he watched it and he's like, "Oh, this is really good." Could you imagine Could you imagine, like, you recorded like you were there for the intimate scenes of like piecing together every single shot all the way finished, have the suspense, the whole movie's done, and while he does say a third of the film is like made of suspense via the score, you can't just throw the entire thing away. He must be like an obsessive compulsive type personality to be able to say something like that.
Oh,
Like,
he's
it was nothing and then it was everything. It's like, that seems fairly extreme. Just bringing it right out of the trash just because of the score. Anyway, he must have been one of those directors to deal with difficult, I would say.
I
But why don't we
think
get
from
into it?
what I've read, he's a perfectionist, and uh, it shows in his filmmaking and it shows in his craft. But like, to say that after finishing Psycho,
Yeah,
he was ready to just heave it into the trash. Wow.
yeah, I don't know. Um, there's a lot of similarities between people in their own personal lives and actually the making of the film too. People having issues with their moms at the time, but nonetheless, Phoenix secretary Marion Craig. I almost said something that I probably shouldn't have said. On the lam after stealing $40,000 from her employer in order to run away with her boyfriend Sam Loomis, who is John Gavin, is overcome by exhaustion during a heavy rainstorm. Traveling on the back roads to avoid the police, she stops for the night at the ramshackle Bates Motel, which still exists, kind of. I mean, it's not the identical framework of it, but people still visit it. And meets the polite but highly strung proprietor, Norman Bates. Man, that name, every time I hear Norman Bates, I'm like, ugh, ugh. Like, I mean,
Yeah.
clearly, because this, like, it really does give me uh, shivers. And who's played by Anthony Perkins, a young man with an interest in taxidermy and a difficult relationship with his mother. I've met a few of these individuals who are into taxidermy, and it's never not weird. There's never a time I'm like, this is normal behavior. Like, if you're a hunter, I can kind of get that, and like you do the hunting thing, and then you do it for others. But I have a few deer that I've had done, and just talking to these guys that are just pent up in rooms for like 4 months of the year, and the glue, the eyeballs that are a part of this whole drawer, animals everywhere, and just the spray. huffing paint. It's just like none of them are normal. And every single time I'm like, I may not exit this dude's house. Like it's just I'm literally scared because like are these animals alive? I don't know. It's so anyone who's into taxidermy. Sorry to offend those people out there. Those good people, mind you, maybe with a little less brain cells. A little frightening, a little telling.
I can
So
only imagine. I've never met anybody that is into that or does that, but how you described it, just sitting in a room gluing that parts together of an
meticulous
animal.
detail. It takes months stretching this. Anyway, it just creeps me out. But I will say the Janet Leigh and Anthony Perkins. Actually, I think Anthony Perkins was the one who Norman. He after just incessant like reviews and discussion and interviews about this movie and this character, he was just absolutely tired of it, as you might imagine, and he's just plain like started refusing to actually do interviews or talk about the character or do anything in relation to the movie. And I think he warmed up eventually, of course, and warmed up a lot in the sense that he was like, well, it's basically better to be known for something, I guess, than nothing. And Janet was the same. Like her, clearly, they're one hit wonders, if you will, Chumbawamba, but terrific roles for both of them.
Fantastic.
And I will say, I'm getting to the end of it. Did you have a problem with the ending? Or maybe we'll just keep it for a second. But I will say, it's a multiple like of movies, which is interesting because I actually forgot the first 10 minutes, like entirely. Like complete misnomer in my brain. Like, oh yeah, that happened.
But she's taking the money?
Yeah. I was like, I totally forgot that there's like extramarital affairs happening and the money even existed to begin with. And I was like, oh yeah, I remember that now. But completely
that's why she's
forgot.
on the run.
Yeah.
Okay.
It hasn't happened in a while of like the prime importance of an actual fact of a movie and probably the entire reason it exists to begin with. She wouldn't have never made it to Bates Motel, but scary.
Yeah, I mean, it's a prime motivation for the movie of her getting out there and for the investigators to come and search for her because she has the money. I don't know if there would be so much of a private investigation right away if the $40,000 wasn't gone.
There wouldn't have been.
But yeah, she gets out of Dodge. Yeah, she gets out of Dodge, and she goes to a car dealership. I thought this was a little strange. Like, why?
Bizarre.
Why do you need to go to
little...
a car dealership and change your car? There's nothing wrong with your car.
The fact is, she went to change her car because she had stolen the money, and then the cop was there. Why would you go through? Why would you go through if the cop was there? Do you know what I mean? It's like
He witnessed everything.
what? Like, how is this possible?
He'd be like, "Hey, give me the license plate of that car. I'm going to follow that one now." Like,
it's like I just saw you buy a new car and trade in the other one. Yeah, it was a little strange. I will say, to back up, do you like black and white films? I'm a huge fan.
love them. Love the cinematography. Love the just the juxtaposition of what the film can look like. When it's done right, it's just beautiful. Absolutely beautiful.
Yeah, it's lovely. I mean, I've said this on the previous podcast that had 6 people watching. That I once had a friend that I was watching I think The Kid, and he walked in on me like watching The Kid after he like got done with the run, and was just like, "What? You can't like this," and just started
The Charlie
berating
Chaplin
me.
movie.
Yeah, just berating me for liking a black and white film. And I was like, I don't know what I'm supposed to say, but this is lovely, and that's your loss. But anyway, big fan. I will say this: we have another Lowry.
Oh, wait, another one?
Yeah,
I missed that.
really?
Okay, which is the character that's Lowry?
The boss man with the mustache, Lowry.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay. The Lowry
Marion's boss.
trifecta over here.
Yeah. So we're gonna have to have this is gonna be an addition to like a category for season 3's Golden Glasses. Who makes the best Lowry? I mean, it's still Mike.
It's always going to be
Clearly.
Mike. Yeah, Mike is on top.
Um, yeah, but I guess there's not a whole lot to say other than the cinematography and the suspense of this movie is like, it's like any other Hitchcock film, but you get into it and without anything actually happening, that score actually does make it frightening. Where I'm on, she's buying a car, for example, and the cop is watching her. I'm like, is somebody's about to die, or like something horrific is about to happen, and then nothing does. But the ability for, I think, a Kubrick or a Sir Alfred Hitchcock, they're able to put you on the edge of your seat, and anything is possible in a frightening, suspenseful type of way. And
Yeah, agreed.
I love Hitchcock so much. I missed him. I haven't seen a movie of his in a long time. I can't remember the last. Yeah,
Yeah, I
this is
I need to
his
get back.
entry.
I need to get back into some more Hitchcock. I think I saw Strangers on a Train a few months ago. Great film. I need to watch, you know, North by Northwest again. But Psycho, man, this is like, I mean, it's top five, five Hitchcock of all time, right?
Yeah, yeah. North by Northwest. Was that Rear Window?
Vertigo,
Rear View. Rear Window.
Rear Window. Yeah, yeah.
Super good. Vertigo. Excellent. But North by Northwest is terrific. The Birds. I like all of them. All his flicks. But if you could kill somebody once, do you think you'd want to do it again?
It could be like getting a tattoo. Like once you get a tattoo,
I got
it's
one
like,
tattoo and then I got two, and I was like, I'm done. Probably for life.
but you did get the second one, so
Yeah, but I had it basically planned out that I wanted the two, more or less.
you're like a serial tattoo. No, not a serial tattoo. You're just a two stop and done. But some people, they get one and they're like, I gotta get more. I gotta,
I mean,
fill
maybe
up the arm.
I just think tattoo. Tattoo. No. I hear
You're
though
doing a
that
pun on your tattoos.
the mouth of of the killer was like reviewed by psychologists to say like he does actually legitimately, Anthony, the actor, do such a
Anthony
good job
Perkins,
of looking crazy. In the last scene where he has the overture of his brain is basically being spilled out of the interaction between his mother that's inside of his own head and himself, or who is he anymore, I guess, to some extent. A lot of controversy around that ending, in that people, even Hitchcock was like, we shouldn't keep it as is. Like, it's just basically it's bullshit. It's a bullshit ending of like just telling the audience and like, here's the story, here is everything. And people were sitting on the fence of like whether or not that should be kept. I think I like it. I love it. Ending like that. I mean, up until that point, like we really didn't have much of anything to go on in terms of like the proclivities of the killer. I mean, up until like the turning around point of the mother, that didn't actually exist, at least outside of the head. But I mean, without that, what would you have? To just get the guy gets caught and like it wouldn't be so creepy. I think
it wouldn't be so creepy. I think you need that kind of psychological explanation of the film to at least understand Norman's behavior and what he's going through. Because if you don't, then yeah, you could just chalk it up to some like, oh, he's a crazy psycho that is dressing up as his mother, and it doesn't give as much weight to what the problem is or what the possibility that it could happen actually be a psychological thing in real life or a condition. Just like in Memento, like those are real conditions psychologically.
Yeah. Which is, it's wild. But I will say this: there's a few facts I want to share. But then we should turn to Memento, because I love Psycho, but Memento is like my dream. There's some ridiculous facts about this movie that I don't even know if this is actually true, but I'm just gonna go ahead and just spout it off like it is. First of all, it's very easy to knock out people in movies from the 1960s and 50s and 40s. It's just like, think, out for 5 minutes. Do whatever you need to do after that. But Hitchcock received a letter after was it his 1955 movie? I have never seen this. Diabolique. I don't know. I've never heard of it actually. Where there's a bath scene, and so he's the father of a girl, the guy that wrote the letter to Hitchcock, and was like, she won't go in the bath shower. We can't basically give her get her clean anymore. She's like frightened of the restroom, effectively. And he's like, send her to the dry cleaners. I was like, why is that a response? All right, so this is the fact that I find, I don't know if it's true, but I hope it is. At the time of the film's production, because of an FCC ruling, any references to toilets could not be represented in both film and television. To add realism to the story, Joseph Stefano was adamant about seeing a toilet on screen, and he wanted it to flush. So Hitchcock told him he had to make it so. This can't be real. Through his writing, if he wanted to see it, Stefano wrote the scene in which Marianne adds up the money, flushes the paper down the toilet specifically, so the flushing was integral to the scene and therefore irremovable. I don't even know if that's a word, but this was the first American and possibly the first fictional movie ever to show a toilet flushing on screen. Also questionable, but nonetheless, I can't think of one before it, I guess. So let's just say it's real.
What? Why?
I don't know.
What? How were we as humans 50, 60 years ago such prudes where we could say in a basically in law that you can't have a flushing toilet seen in a movie?
People are scared of turds, Steven.
I mean, come on.
It is. It's the first feature film that features a toilet flushing.
1960 what? What is this? 1960?
1960. I didn't want to look this. I shouldn't have looked this up because I actually legitimately was like, there's a long troll going on here between like two friends. Somebody wrote this and they're like, oh, I wonder if anyone's ever going to find this out. That's not real. It's real. Very odd. So strange. A flushing toilet? We hate turds that much, huh?
That's wild.
And I will say this. One more for you, okay? So Janet, she had 3 weeks to film, right? And basically, like half of it was spent, like 1/3 of it was spent doing the shower scene. So can you imagine
that much? Wow.
Yeah. So can you imagine like 1 week of you just taking showers and somebody killing you? Like by the end of it, you actually might start,
you might need a therapist.
Yeah. like
that's kind of traumatic.
Norman right dressed as a woman, his mother, going for a stab. Sounds like that sounds miserable. Yeah, a whole week.
It doesn't sound fun.
Yeah, not
That's
fun.
Some Kubrick type shit. Yeah, this was like a couple of things that I have on this movie is like it's the first kind of the proto slasher, like before Halloween or anything like that. This was 1960, and it kind of started that genre. This is also like a movie that kind of pulls the rug out from under you and like kills the main character midway through the movie. And that never happens. Like that's what was so shocking to people.
Yeah, and it just keeps going. Like nothing ever happened. Like the character is completely forgotten. Like where's the 40,000? Like what's going on here? What? Huh? Like what's the motive behind anything anymore? Yeah, confusing, but it connects, especially when you have that 1-2 punch at the end of old mother's not there anymore and it's just Norman. Creeping everyone out. Yeah. I will add. Go ahead.
Go ahead.
The film over the years, and I don't know how many films have actually done this, but it's been re-rated over the years. Yeah. So I don't know how. I don't know. I guess the different organizations that have changed hands over the years, from PG to PG-13 and PG-15 to R. I don't know.
Okay, I have a couple of questions. What's
PG-15?
One, how could it be PG if it has a toilet flushing?
Yeah.
Two, what is PG-15? I've never in my life heard of that. I think you're making it up. And yeah, this is definitely a rated R movie, like 100%.
another one of those that I did not verify, but I definitely trusted because I wanted PG-15 to be real. If it's not, we're gonna steal it. We gotta like register, trademark this. Look it up. PG-15. I hope it's real.
Man,
If it's not, it's ours. Let's make it ours. Maybe I did make it up.
being 14 and a half must suck.
Yeah, dude.
You're like,
could you
"I'm so
imagine?
close."
Because like 13, I can kind of understand like 13-year-olds not having enough years. Maybe back then PG-13, you can go to say that they're 16, 17-year-olds. So that's probably why it changed. We've gotten younger over the years, even with the addition of those 4 years. I would say, not really seeing as much anymore. I mean, I think I've talked about it on this podcast before as well. Have you seen like the map? I believe it's in the UK. Can't remember the exact city, but from the 1950s until now, like of how children travel in terms of their play.
Oh no,
like
I haven't.
Yeah, so like I'm simplifying things, but like 1950, for example, it would be like a kid walked 5 miles in a day, and just like 5 miles away from home and like back. And then like the 80s, that moved to like 3 or whatever it might be, and then the 2000s tighter, and then now it's like blocks where like the kid doesn't really leave his or her block, which
I mean,
it's certainly accurate. I remember when I was a kid, we would just go on bikes and just fuck off, like go anywhere we wanted, miles upon miles upon miles upon miles. And I can definitely say with my daughter, although she never goes miles. She's 5 though, so that's probably why. But I'm talking when I was more like 12, 10. But that's
yeah,
probably
just
why. I mean,
be
things
back before
transition.
sunset.
Yeah, it's
Kind
not
of
wild.
the idea.
With no cell phones.
And
Good
really
luck.
not much money, like maybe a couple
Yeah,
bucks.
yeah. Drinking out of water hoses. Interesting times.
I
But yeah,
definitely
anyway,
did that.
I don't know. I don't know what PG-15 is, nor do I know why the ratings have changed. Could be a troll, but who knows? Fun
I
times
will
though.
say, right immediately after I watched this movie, I wanted to at least take a peek at the Gus Van Sant remake of this. And you know about this, right?
No, I've never heard of a Psycho remake, nor have I. Do I know who Gus is?
Oh, Gus Van Sant. He directed Good Will Hunting. He directed
Oh,
Elephant.
okay. I know him.
Yeah, he's a big director. Anyways, yeah, this is a weird experiment, man, and it's something that I watched about half of it, but it's
Wow.
a remake, and it's a shot for shot, made in color remake with Vince Vaughn as Norman Bates and Anne Hesh as Marion. It's a very strange movie. Vince Vaughn,
What?
I love him, but he does not make a great Norman Bates. I mean, maybe it's just because Anthony Perkins just steals it, but
When?
I don't know. It's
When was
1998.
this
It's
made?
weird. It's 1998.
98?
Yeah,
I don't know what to
shot
say.
for shot, exact same dialogue, everything.
Why?
That's the question I want to know.
I mean, it's made shot. Like, why shot for shot?
Just with a
I
new
don't know.
cast.
Did he think he could do it
Interesting.
better, or did he just want a different take? Anyway,
I think
had
it's
too many
just.
questions.
I think it's a weird experiment of filmmaking of like, let's make this movie again with a new cast and do it shot for shot and see what happens. I didn't do too much research into it, and I just watched half, but it was weird, very strange.
What was the best part of it? Same sound.
Same sound,
Same
but it's
sound?
not a black. It's not in black and white. Oh, and the 40,000 becomes 400,000.
Flushing toilet.
I did see a flushing toilet. Yeah,
Rated R for sure.
for sure.
That is.
But yeah,
That's one of those like weird facts that I don't know what to deal with. Like, I don't know where to go next. Like, other than just asking a lot of questions. Like, I don't understand the rationale behind making that again. Spike Lee did Old Boy. A lot of those shots were very similar, but it was different. That didn't need to be made, nor does Psycho, especially shot for shot. In the same sound and in color. I don't know what's happening. I'm done.
Strange.
I'm retiring from this I don't, Gus, what are you doing with your life in '98? What did you go through? But anyway, fun times. Big fan of Hitchcock, his last black and white film, but a lot of people did not like him after this film came out. Scared the living shit out of them, and he received a lot of letters. But I think you know,
That's when you know it's good. That's when
yeah,
you know it's working. Like
that's when
piss some
that's when you
people
know
off.
it. Yeah. But anyway, Memento.
Yeah,
When was
let's
the
get
first?
into Memento.
What was the first time you ever watched this? Last week.
Uh, no, this has been on rotation. This is one of my heavy hitters that I just love. I love watching this. Sometimes I'll just like it'll be a couple years and I'll throw it on, and it I find different things. I find like little Easter eggs that I hadn't seen before. It's just one of those films. But I first watched this. I was I think like a junior in high school. Yeah, something like that. And it was playing at an indie movie theater. Um, and I got to go into it and I saw it and I think it was 2001 because I didn't see it right when it came out in 2000. But movies back then would be in theaters for 6, 7, 8 months at a time. So
I miss those times. To be fair,
me too.
I don't. I can't recall the last or the first time I watched it. I don't remember. It probably would have been in like the LimeWire days because I did not see this.
Downloaded it illegally.
Yeah, the file name was like something egregious, and you just took a chance on it. You had to download like 6 to get there to begin with, but I can't remember. I definitely would have seen this in my dorm room, so it would have probably been in 2001 or 2002. I want to say. I don't really remember going to many movies back in those days. It's a few, but it blew my mind. I remember watching 21 Monkeys. 21 Monkeys? Is that 13 Monkeys?
2 monkeys, yeah.
And this in in the same year, I want to say, and thinking, I can't believe movies can do this to you in this capacity. Not only have like a cerebral type mind fuck, but the directing of it, Terry Gilliam and Christopher Nolan, was like, this is unbelievable. Two near and dear movies to my heart. I, though, am not on like the 2-year train with this movie, probably because I've seen it so many times that even, I know this is really weird to say, watching it again, I was like, kind of like wanting it to rush. Like I was like,
There are
do you
some
know what I
moments where
mean by that?
yeah, there's moments in the middle of the film that does have kind of like this lull to it, especially like when he's burning the mementos of his wife and having the prostitute come over and sleep over. It's like those are the moments that kind of drag in the film. You know what I mean?
I don't want to say drag. I'm just saying I know it. I've seen it so many times that like I know it. It's not like the first 10 minutes of Psycho where I'm like, I had no idea that existed. But like I just am watching. I'm like, I know what's happening. I know what's going to happen next. I know what's going to happen next. I know what's going to happen next. And I'm like, I think I need a longer break next time. Even I think it had been probably 3 to 4 years at least, I want to say, but I still remember it very intimately. Which goes back to me saying I wish it was one of those movies that I could just remove entirely and just like put it back in, watch it over.
Yeah.
Be so much fun to do so. But yeah, just monumentally influential to me and how I saw movies from there on out.
It's kind of funny that, you talk about having a pretty bad movie memory, but on the movie that's about memory, you got it on lock.
It's because if I have an interest in like the original Batman Begins, Christopher Nolan is another one I've seen so many times and I love it. It's kind of the same film. Old Boy I've seen so many times, but it's been a few years since I've seen it. Also one of those that I would get probably that same feeling. I've just seen it so many times. But yeah, it is funny. The
I gotta
humor.
ask, what's your least favorite Nolan flick?
You know, I didn't particularly like Following.
His first film.
Is that considered is that a feature? I think it's an hour and 10 or hour and 8, something like that. Does that
Yeah,
count?
it's like
Does that count?
it's like his like beta film to come out. Like
It was
it
all
is
right.
considered a film. He shot that on the weekends when he was like studying and working. Like
Yeah.
it's not like a proper. It is a proper film, but it's not his like debut. Really, I would say
I
Memento's his real debut.
Okay. So, and then I would have to say Dunkirk. I hate passionately.
Oh man,
Yeah. Saw it in theater. And I hated it. Haven't seen it since.
I
It's
think you need
his
to rewatch it.
magnus opus.
I never said that.
He did. He definitely did.
I?
Yeah. Yeah. Maybe in text.
You'll have
Could
to find it
verify it.
because I don't remember. But yeah, I love Dunkirk. I think it's a great, just a great war film. And I just love how Christopher Nolan, in most of his films, if not all of them, play with this like concept of time, and whether it's Memento and the film being portrayed, in a non-linear fashion backwards, or Dunkirk with the day, the hour, and the minute, whatever it is. It's amazing how he can like manipulate that and tell a story within that framework.
I have to ask, like, because the story is from Jonathan, who's Christopher's brother. The story of Memento, I should say. And he got credit for it, of course. How did he? Do you know how he came up with the idea? I didn't look anything up around Jonathan's influence or how they worked together and pulling this out of their tails. Like, how did that work though? Like, how did he come up with this idea? Because it's just brilliant.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't look too much into it, but I do know that, like, him and his brother have a pretty tight working relationship, and um, Jonathan Nolan was basically going to film school at Georgetown University, or I believe, and they were on a cross country road trip, and that's where they kind of he read this short story by his brother, and was like, "You need to like develop that into a script. Like, let's work this into a script." And the short story is quite a bit different than the actual screenplay story, but the basic plot elements are there of a man with that can't make new memories, and he's basically in a psych hospital the entire time. Whereas
Oh,
this is more
really?
like Guy Pearce, from what I've kind of gleaned from it, is the character was in a psych hospital and he got out and now is being used by Teddy to, at his bidding, basically. But I won't get into
Ah,
the plot of this film, or the
please
details, I
do.
guess. Yeah. Memento 2000, Christopher Nolan, director, like we said, based on the short story Memento Mori by Jonathan Nolan. Stars Guy Pearce, Carrie-Anne Moss, and Joe Pantoliano. 113 minutes. Budget it says between 5 and 9 million. Had a box office of 40.1, so pretty good. A lot of studios actually passed on it, like Miramax and uh,
I
they
could see
just
that.
they thought it was going to be too confusing for audiences to like grasp. They're like, no, I don't think we want to put our money into this. So the studio that helped produce it did a gamble, and they said, we're going to distribute it as well. And good thing they did, because it did well, especially in the home video DVD side of things. But yeah, Memento is a psychological thriller. The film follows Leonard Shelby, a man suffering from antegrade amnesia, which prevents him from forming new memories after a traumatic incident where his wife was murdered. Question mark. Leonard is determined to find and kill his wife's murderer, but his condition makes it nearly impossible to retain information for more than a few minutes. To cope, Leonard relies on a system of notes, Polaroid photos, and tattoos to keep track of crucial information. And the story, like I said, is told in a non-linear fashion with two alternating sequences. You have the black and white, which is kind of like this, where he's in the motel room and we're getting a little bit more crucial information while he's having a phone call with we don't know who. And then the colored version, which basically it starts with the very end of the movie as the first scene, and progresses throughout, and you get more and more information as the film goes on. But yeah, he meets a couple of people along the way, and Teddy, his partner slash dirty cop, and Natalie, who's in a relationship with Dodd and might be manipulating Leonard as well. It's a fascinating film.
Fascinating, and I can't imagine actually being Leonard. Of just you can't trust yourself to some extent if you were to really think about it philosophically. And the only way to guess to trust yourself is to draw on yourself. But what a difficult life. Do you? I mean, I don't know, man. Like, it just seems like a very depressing existence. You know, your wife is gone. Vengeance can only satisfy so much, right? But guess when people get a hold of you, they can use you against the world. You just become like this ultimate like soldier, kind of. You know, just like
That's basically what he is. Yeah.
endless killing machine. Just create storyline after storyline of John G. And well, anyway, anyone John G. going forward's all dead. Pretty wild though. I will say
It's a wild. Go ahead.
how composed Mr. Pierce is in this character of just like anything that happens to him, he just like kind of just rolls with the punches. I mean, because I guess he's got to, and he's pretending that he understands what's going on. For example, two things immediately come to mind of me just like laughing, literally laughing out loud. I don't know if I'm supposed to, but like when the Dodd character and he opens up the closet door and he's just sitting there, just like, oh, I'm just gonna close it, and just like he's just so composed. And also when he's running through like the trailer park and he's like talking to himself in his head.
I'm
Oh,
chasing
like
this
I'm
guy.
chasing, I'm chasing this guy. Oh no, he's chasing me.
He's
And
chasing
just
me.
he's so composed, like trying to figure out his life. Where I think any sane person, even if you had been there like 1,000 times, like you'd be freaking out, especially with the dude with the gun. So it's but I just felt like Guy Pearce, absolutely, it's his best role ever. And a handsome
And
fella.
it's funny. It's funny. I love I love Guy Pearce. Ever since I saw this film, love his other stuff in like LA Confidential. Haven't seen The Brutalist yet, which he's nominated for an Oscar this year.
Is he? Wow.
Yeah, yeah,
What
yeah.
a
I
what
need
a
to check it out.
comeback.
But that's the thing. Like Christopher Nolan, he reuses a lot of actors in other movies, but he never used Guy Pearce again. And Guy Pearce,
Why?
Guy Pearce said he's like, well, I must have just really didn't like my performance in Memento. I must have just blew it for him. And that's not the case. The case is Christopher Nolan signed a multi-year movie deal with Warner Brothers after this, and Warner Brothers just didn't like Guy Pearce. They're like, we don't like him.
What?
We don't. Yeah, the executives just didn't like him, and so he was
Why?
not allowed to be cast in any of his other films. So
Did he
strange.
bang somebody's wife?
Could be. You never know.
I bet it was something to do with Sammy Jenkins. Something
Sammy
to do
Jenkins.
with. I don't like him. Steven Tobolowsky or whatever. I don't know. Just I think it's the Ned Ryerson Groundhog Day
From
role.
Groundhog Day.
I don't think I could ever like him. Remember,
I think
you like him?
I think it's brilliant. I love his like kind of dopiness. It's very dopey, right?
Yes, very dopey. I just don't like the dopey soft. I don't know. Maybe he's a good person, nearing the twilight of his career, if not already there. I just don't like him. And maybe that Groundhog Day role is just stuck with me. I don't have a whole lot of like roles like that where it's just I don't he is acting so well that it just annoyed the living shit out of me. But even in this role where he's absolutely terrific, I can't get him out of my head about how I dislike him. But yeah, you are faking it, Sammy. You are faking it, aren't you? You're in there, and I know you're faking. You liar. Terrible.
Yeah, Guy Pearce's character Lenny. He's before all of this, before he's like this killer of sorts. He's just an insurance adjuster or claims adjuster, and he has to like basically read people, look people in the eye, and see if they're like lying or telling the truth. And that's kind of like the key to him understanding his condition is remembering Sammy Jenkins, who
Yeah.
had this same condition, and his wife basically thought he was faking it.
Is he Sammy?
He
This
is,
guy,
yeah.
Guy Pearce. Yeah, Sammy. Man, I'll tell you what, though, Sammy, the movie's got a lot of interesting ups and downs and places and moments where you're probably not supposed to laugh, but you do. And
I think this is the funniest Christopher Nolan film of all.
Yeah.
Like, this movie is actually like there are hilarious moments in it.
Yeah. This is being teed up, not the same way that I was hoping, but Sammy giving the shot to his wife. Oh, so heartbreaking, and like truly believing that he's inside. The wife does, and he's still there, and so she's got her scheduled shot. Took the shot. Sammy, of course, gives it to her, and then she does it a few times more.
She winds back the
dies.
clock.
Yeah, and thinking that, going to call his bluff, and surely doesn't happen. What a heartbreaking scene that is, because if that were actually real, the totality of, all right, I want to see if he is bluffing, and if he's not, well, I can exit to the gift shop, and I don't want to be a part of this life anymore. It's an interesting and extremely sad truth of a realization that, I don't know, that sat with me for a long time after. It's a very, very sad moment in film. But done well by Sammy, even though I don't particularly like the character or him.
Yeah.
But it's just
sad,
so sad.
man.
God, sad. Ugh. I like
there's
one thing that made me laugh though was, what's the last thing you remember? And then Guy Pearce responds with, my wife. Oh, that's sweet, dying. It's like, oh, all right.
He didn't have to say that, but he did. Yeah. I like the scene where Natalie tests him out in the bar by getting everybody to spit in his beer, just to see if like this is her test. Not as deathly as the insulin injection, but still a good way to test him out. And everybody just spits in the beer. He even spits in his own beer and sits down a little bit later and serves it to him. But my favorite scene in this whole film is the scene at Natalie's house. Just
which part?
Because this movie is told backwards, right? And we're getting to see at the start of it, like when we meet Natalie, that he's sleeping in bed with her. He's basically, she's a friend to him and all of these things. But then that scene where it just gets diabolical like that. And she's like basically hiding all the pens and everything like that. Yeah. And then she basically just rips into Lenny. Calls his wife a fucking whore. You're not going to do anything about it. You won't remember. And she's just using him. He hits her. She goes, sits in the car for a couple of minutes, comes back, and he's like, what happened? That scene is just, I mean, this is why I got nominated for Oscar for best screenplay. Like, amazing.
It's incredible. It's so interesting how many times I tricked myself into thinking like, this is what's happening in this film. Like, okay, like he is Sammy. And then I was like, maybe he's not. Maybe Sammy does exist. And I just get so confused, and almost to the point that in the film, it's like, you don't want the truth. You just make up the truth.
Yeah.
And you kind of do that while you're watching the film. Like you're trying to pull the pieces together. I kind of just like not knowing with this film, or not trying to guess, and just let it be a little bit of a puzzle still that's yet to be put together in my mind for a film.
It's supposed to be. Yeah. Christopher Nolan wanted that.
I like it. I like to keep it like that. Whereas oftentimes I think in film we try to figure it out, who done it kind of thing. But in this, I don't really want to. It's more fun to just consider it on its head, I think. And what is like actually being shown.
It's one of those films where the structure and the storytelling really is not a gimmick because it puts you in the position of the main character. And that's what makes it really, really cool, is like how a film can tell a story and make you so disoriented just the same way that Lenny is. And it's incredible. I love how everybody around him is basically taking from him or using him. Even the hotel clerk, he's booking him 2 rooms.
My question: if you're like a poor hotel, not doing very well, like do you do the same? Because I would probably do the same. You know,
Yeah, he's like, my boss told me, like, see if I could do it.
you pay
Sure
your bills
enough.
on time. But yeah, it's an interesting one. I really, there's so many aspects to the film that I think we could talk about forever. But like, I really enjoyed the black and white scenes when he's talking on the phone and you don't know who he's talking to. He's just talking to himself, just as he is the main character of the movie, of course. But we are him, like we're seeing through his eyes, and I like that because then like you fill in the gaps. Like, who is he talking to? What are they replying with? Oh, clearly he's talked about Sammy Jenkins before. Like, I just really enjoyed those flashbacks. Like just a kind of a weird. I don't know a film that does flashbacks like this. It's probably the best. I know. I feel like I say this like every single week with something. Well, best score of all time. This is the best blah 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 of all time. Just don't ever listen to me about anything.
Um,
Do you have a
it's
tagline for the
great. Like,
film?
yeah, I do. It's. I think they did a good job with the tagline here. 1 second, let me.
I have a
pull it
quote
up
for you
'cause I don't
though.
wanna-
One of the end all be all. We all need mirrors to remind ourselves who we are. And that's just so damn good because memory is transient and not very good. We think it is, but it's not.
Well, yeah, it kind of leads me to that one quote about memory, where like memory can change the shape of a room, it can change the color of a car. Memories can
Oh
be
yeah.
distorted; they're just an interpretation. But facts are are real, but they're not real if you tattoo the wrong thing on you. If you manipulate yourself and tell yourself lies, then you're just playing yourself basically.
Does he get the tattoos covered up? Like, how long has this actually been going on? I wonder.
That's the question. Like, apparently they found the real John G, and that's where he's got
Yeah.
the photo. He's smiling,
Yeah.
basically a tattoo that's going to be on his heart to say, "Hey, I did it. We accomplished this." But Teddy was like, "I can manipulate this a little further here." And did you notice that Teddy the entire time was trying to get the keys to the car, to the Jaguar,
No.
the entire time?
I mean, I know the first time they were driving, yeah, but I don't
He's
remember
like,
the entire time.
he says it like 4 or 5 times because there's 200 grand in the back trunk that he's trying to get from Jimmy. It's like that's one of the things that I didn't catch out of all these times I've watched it.
Also,
Why?
extremely nonchalant with his own like dealings with Leonard. The fact that somebody who's completely off kilter and could, with a split second, just take him out.
Just sitting in his passenger
And
seat, just being like, "Hey, how you doing?"
Not only that, no, like in a factory, like an old beaten up place. Nobody's there, just like talking like he's normal, and then like instigating him. I'm like, this is not what I would do in this situation. But yeah,
He feels
interesting.
comfortable with
Too
how he can
comfortable.
manipulate Lenny.
Yeah, I guess. But just a lovely story. Lovely.
It's interesting how Christopher Nolan was trying to cast this film. He really liked The Matrix, and so he wanted to get Carrie-Anne Moss, and he's like, she's perfect for Natalie. She adds so much to this story, this character, and he was trying to find the Teddy character, and Carrie-Anne Moss was like, you should go with Joe, like he's great, and they thought that picking him would be like too obvious as a villain, but he was perfect.
Yeah, he's good as a villain, but I think Joe is in the sense Joe was going to be the Guy Pearce Leonard character.
No, they tried to get Brad Pitt.
Okay, Brad would have done great for it. I think.
I
Guy's
think he
better.
filmed Troy instead.
I'm glad he did. To be fair. Oh man, I've been sick for like 3 weeks, but never like overly dead. It's getting very annoying. It's like 15 degrees outside, dumping of snow.
You just need a little sunshine and warm
North
weather.
of Florida. I think we got it next week. This week with any hope. But anyway, glasses. You get glasses. Who gets one from the masses?
I like that. That's you should incorporate that every time. That little rhyme.
Just got made up. I don't know. But anyway, I don't know what to do here. Everyone gets glasses. I try to go into this in the rating system not differently, but I don't want to just give out golden glasses to everybody. But I think when we just choose films that it's just kind of hard to debate. Casino Royale, as we know, that I didn't believe to be, Golden Glass Award or even like
Near it.
four and a half glasses. But I've tried to think about this in terms of Psycho, because Memento is a 5 glass. It's a Golden Glass movie for me. And I am trying to think of like, should Psycho be 4.5? And I've debated with myself too much about it. I don't know, so I'm just going to give it a Golden Glass as well. But with that said, I think it really goes back to the fact that the toilet scene really set it off for me, really put it above, first of its kind. And also Hitchcock is just so terrific in the suspense that he has created. And I think I'm also overlooking the fact of the influence of this movie is monumental. You could see it everywhere in terms of what it actually did and what Hitchcock did. People are actually fucking freaked. Both are 5 glasses for me, golden glasses.
That's fair. That's we're dealing with heavy hitters, and one film that's just an all-time classic in Psycho that, like you said, influenced so many other films and brought in basically a whole genre of horror and slasher a decade before any of those films came out. And then you have something like Memento that I think is like a quintessential like piece of artwork. Like this is just one of those movies that you can just put in a time capsule and show to future generations and just be amazed by it. So yeah, Memento is going to be golden glasses automatically. And I'm kind of in the same boat as you. Like, I'm like, do I give Psycho its laurels? But it deserves it. And I can't say I need to downgrade it just because we've been giving out quite a few of these golden glasses. But we just need to pick some, I guess, some mediocre movies, man, because like, what are we doing here? We're doing Motel Movies, and we're picking the 2 best movies that have a motel in them.
That's true.
So it's a golden glasses as well.
I mean, flushing of toilets. First of all, I just I don't understand. I can't believe that's real. I just can't believe it. Big fan though. Big fan. But anyway, what are we doing next week or this week?
Oh, or
next week.
We got a lot lined up. We're taking a trip to the islands of Hawaii. I think we're going to be in Maui and then Oahu. Yeah, trying this thing that we failed spectacularly at as a live podcast. We're gonna crack this nut, and we got some Hawaiian films up our sleeves.
We've got a few, 6 films, 3 podcasts, all going to be filmed in the lovely Hawaii on various islands. But the next one that you will see is going to be on weddings with 27 dresses taking on what?
Father of the Bride.
That is correct. And we have a special guest, somebody who is actually getting married this coming Sunday. Hence the reason she will be on the podcast, and we will introduce her next week. But nonetheless, that her wedding and who's marrying my friend, old Nicholas, is the reason we are exiting well, I don't know what your temperatures are, but it's like teens here, snow then just covering the ground, and I'm tired of it. I want to get in some warmth. I'm angry at the world, a little sick, ready for Hawaii and its waves.
I'm excited, man. It's going to be fun. This was a great podcast talking about some of our favorite movies about motels.
Is this what you
If
do,
you
Shaka?
Shaka man, Shaka Steve, that's me. Yeah, dude, that's where I got it. It's been a long time. I used to live in Hawaii. Full disclosure, when I was a kid, um, and this is my
I have
first
a
time going
question for
back.
you. I have a major question that Professor Sifu actually posed to me, and I was saying I'm going to Hawaii. He's like, you should go to Steven's old um, karate school, and I said, now that is exactly what I want to do, and that's exactly what you and I are going to do because it doesn't exist.
Well, I mean, it might not be there anymore. This has been 20 something years ago. 30. You know what I'm talking?
I mean, a successful
Like
school should still be there, right? Why don't we look up your
this.
old professor and see where he's at? See if we can talk to him.
Okay.
We should do a Hawaiian focused martial arts movie podcast with him. That's what we need to do.
Um, if I can find it, if I can find this school, I mean, it was on Hickam Air Force Base, and I don't know if we can't even access that because we're not active military, so it's off limits. Can't do it.
We got to ask him to come out and just hang out with us, at least for a drink. How old was he at the time? 20 years ago?
I've been. I have no idea. I was a kid. I was 12, 13 years old, man. He could have been
Yeah.
35. I don't know. 22. Like,
Yeah. I remember in college, our coach for running was like just a few years older than me, and I was like, he is so fucking old. Like, oh my god. And now looking back, I was like, yeah, he was just a few years older.
isn't that wild?
Anyway, yeah, I remember even in 2008 when I joined a running team, and I was 3 years older than most everyone, and they looked at me like, dude, you're old as like you're old as shit. They were like 21, I was like 24. Like, wow, my god, like you're retiring soon. Like, anyway, until next
So
week,
strange.
Hawaii.
Hey, Hawaii. Aloha. Aloha.
Ma-